So welcome everyone. This is our Values in AI equals Impact session on August 13th, 2025. It is 7 p.m. Central European time. My name is Rhonda Bowen, and we're here to have a wonderful conversation about how the values that we work with and that we try to put out into the world can be enhanced by all of the wonderful things that are happening now with AI. And so the way we set up these sessions is that people just introduce themselves briefly and say something about what they're looking at this combination of what you're doing with values and how you think you could be helped with AI by doing that, or any other discussions we have around those kinds of things. I'm here to moderate the discussion and or to possibly demonstrate some tools if that's what somebody's interested in. And I will let Charles go first because he knows how to do this. And then Elizabeth, you can follow after that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Rhonda. I'm Charles Fowler. I'm in a sort of shadow host, secondary host to Rhonda position in these sessions. But really, I'm here to learn more about AI and how it can help us. I'm the global coordinator of World Values Day, and involved in various values related activities, initiatives, and so on. Hence my presence here. Really, it's not as an AI expert, far from it. So I'm trying to find out useful things. Today, I think what I've already been at an earlier session, and so I've already asked Rhonda a question, which was actually a very banal question about large language models, you know, the chat GPTs and all similar things on the market now, all fast evolving. And it was really just about how we could find the most secure way of disgorging our sometimes, I mean, mostly not confidential, but sometimes confidential information, as we, you know, prompt the machines to give us some penetrating answer on whatever's bugging us, you know. And it's wonderful how you can feed them with massive amounts of information, and they come up with they either reshape it, reorder it, produce something else entirely from it. But you are giving them a huge amount of information. So how do we keep ourselves secure in doing that? Was my earlier question, which, if we've got time, we might touch on again, because but if not, then it's been somewhat answered by Rhonda in the time we had before.
Okay, thank you, Charles. So Elizabeth, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little about what your interests are in the topic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rhonda, and really lovely to be here. I was looking forward to it, and I'm a bit surprised that we're so few, and I'm very happy to be here and to have this kind of conversation. I am working as a management consultant in Sweden. I am a certified. I'm certified level 2 Barrett Value Center, Barrett Analytics. So it's through Barrett Analytics that I came into contact with this forum, and as a management consultant, I and my colleagues are involved in many projects and tasks where AI may be relevant. And in the organizations where we are active, very much in the public sector and also in the private sector, it is a very central topic. And 3 years ago, we read a book, Life 3.0, some of us. I don't know if you're familiar with the book, but it is written by a Swedish academic named Max Tegmark. And he really made an appeal to that we need to involve ourselves in this conversation. And what I noticed is that many of my friends who are highly educated, who are in their 40s, nearing their 50s, like myself, they kind of want to put their head in the sand because it's very scary. And it's kind of become a mission of mine to gently encourage and not so gently encourage my colleagues to take their head out of the sand and start discussing, start using, start sharing with each other. And what I find is that at some point comes a question for many: am I doing something that is morally right? Or am I participating in activities which are leading us in the wrong direction? So I'm really searching for these kinds of forums where we can discuss AI for good or AI for constructive purposes. So that's why I'm here. And part of this mission too is, it's interesting you brought that up, Charles, about security, because I find part of what is keeping many with their head in the sand is a fear, and addressing fear is an important part of this challenge that we're facing, I believe. So I'm really here for the discussion. I'm here for also the contact with others, thinking along these lines. And I'm looking to, develop my own thoughts in this area.
Well, that's one of the main reasons we set this up. Charles and I have been working together on World Values Day for a short time now. And last year, World Values Day is coming up in October. And I said to him last year, when we have World Values Day, what are we doing for AI? And he said, nothing yet. And I said, okay. So I did some sessions on AI similar to these. And some of the people who came to those sessions said, this is too important a topic to just discuss one day a year.
Yeah.
And so this series, then we discussed it in November. The series that we're doing now started in December. It's always the second Wednesday of the month, 3 times during the day, so people can come at different times from different geographical areas. And it's my personal mission in AI at the moment. I am certainly not an AI expert, and I am not a tech expert in any matter of means. But I've seen too much of what you were just saying. There are the people who love AI and are really into it and know all the tech, and it's all the hoopla that goes on. And then there are all these people who are terribly afraid and have no idea about what's going on, and are being pushed by the very negative things in the media and all that stuff. And I said, we need a space here in the middle for rational people who just don't know enough yet to come in and sit down and have adult discussions about these things without the hype and without the fear.
I'm so grateful to
this middle place for us to be meeting. So that's what we've been doing since last December, Charles and I, and I've really, really enjoyed what's coming out of it. Do you have a particular question that, like Charles was mentioning about his question before, do you have a particular question or a tool that you've heard about that you don't know about, you'd like to see, that I could show you something? That's just what we tried. It's a very practical, hands-on kind of a session.
I'm interested in what tools you've brought up before. I'm trying to use AI as much as possible in my work role, even privately, to and this is actually a switch that happened for me. I was very motivated around the topic, but I was holding the tools a little bit at an arm's length. And I had a colleague challenge me and say, he said, I think it's your responsibility to be using the tools. And I changed on a dime. And now I am using to further my own understanding and to push my own comfort level. But I am interested in knowing what other people are asking about. I'm also happy to share what it is that I'm using and testing myself. So I guess I'm interested in orienting myself in what this kind of crowd is talking about. And
well, you have a wonderful opportunity, because the reason we are recording this session, and we record all of our sessions, is I have a mighty network called Compolium, And
Mhm.
it's like Facebook, but something different, but it's the same idea, but it's private, meaning I pay to be on it. So your data isn't getting sold anywhere. And what will happen is we will be sending out an email and you'll be able to join this group on this platform. And we have all of the recordings from all of the sessions.
Great.
Plus, we have a resources database. So you can go in and look at all the tools we've ever discussed with all the links.
Fantastic.
So you'll be able tomorrow, you'll be able to go and get all of this organized and be able to see not only things that happened with us in our group today, but all the things that we've been doing since last December.
Excellent.
You'll have
Wonderful.
access to lots and lots of things. So you can go in and check that out. And once you join the group, if you have questions, you can just write a message in the group and I'll get an email and then I'll get back to you.
Wonderful.
Okay. So we don't have to spend time looking at all the things. There'll be
Sure.
plenty for you to look at. Charles knows how many things we've gathered over the months. But every time somebody talks about a new thing, then we go and we put it in there. So you'll have lots of things to look around at. And if you have questions about any of them, please let me know. So let's go back to Charles's question, because I think this is a discussion kind of a question and not a look at the tools kind of a
Yeah.
question, but it's important that we were talking about which of the owners of these various tools, like ChatGPT belongs to OpenAI and Claude belongs to Anthropic, and all of these companies, which ones are really interested in the values slash ethics slash moral, use the term that you like best, thing. And the thing that I have seen so far, and Charles had also mentioned this earlier today, is that, and there is on the Compolium page, there is a video from some of the people who work at Anthropic about how they check the ethical standards of Claude. So there's a video on that in the list as well that you'll find when you go in there. So for me, and I mean, I certainly don't have access to everything, but the only people I really hear talking a lot about ethics are the Anthropic people from Claude. But I'm sure there are other people talking about those things too, but they seem to be making a bigger issue of it. And therefore, I think they're probably taking it somewhat more seriously. My personal opinion is Grok doesn't care about anything because Grok is run by Musk. And it's wide open, do what you want. I saw a video where someone said, oh, you can go on Grok. And when you want to make images, you speak and you say, I want a picture that looks like this and this and this. On Grok, which you can't do on lots of other platforms, somebody said, I want a picture of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and Joe Biden sitting at a table eating lunch. And it actually uses those faces, which a lot of other platforms don't allow you to use real people's faces for things like that. But Grok does. So that's, for me, those kinds of things where I say, well, that's all well and good as long as people are doing good things with that. But if they're not, then you're seeing all the crazy things you're getting online with people imitating all kinds of people doing all kinds of crazy things.
Right. I came into contact with a term. I don't know if you've heard it. SLOP.
SLOP?
Yes. And that is this generation of falsities, or it's just in massive amounts as well. But this slop being something that is an effect of what is possible, and the slop, and I think it creates a good visual, makes it really tricky to see through all of the mess and the stickiness.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with there's a couple of guys from the New York Times doing a podcast called Hard Fork. And I think that they do a good job at reporting on on things, and it's become something that I've turned to.
Okay. And it's called Hard Fork?
Hard Fork. like
Like a
fork in your fork,
Okay,
hard fork.
perfect. Good.
One of them, they give this disclosure at the start. One of them is a partner. His partner is at Anthropic, but they seem to have their. I think they seem to have their finger on the pulse of
Mhm.
quite a lot. So that's something I can
Yes,
add to the space.
wonderful.
It's
Well,
from
I'll look.
them that I learned this term slop.
Wonderful. Excellent. I
Yeah.
haven't heard of this. That's why we're
Um,
here. That's what we love about this is exchanging. Had you heard of these? Had you heard of
no,
this, Charles? No. See?
useful term though. It's very vivid word.
It's very
Mhm.
illustrative, isn't it? Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
No,
and
so I'll look it up and I will, when I send out the list and when I put the things into Compolium, I always put in from each session. I'm really busy. I've got guests at the moment that may not come out until this weekend. So be patient until I get it to you. But there, I will put in the links to all of these things so that people will be able to see it. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the security. I've been using Gemini and I've been using GPT. We are using Copilot as a standard part of our work, and I have just this week been exploring the security, if data is shared or if data is used for training
Mhm.
the model. And part of the reason why is because I imagine it's important to compare the outputs from different language models.
Mhm.
And what I found with the answers that I got for Gemini and ChatGPT is that the input is not being used to train the model unless you are explicitly opting in.
Mhm.
But then, of course, comes the question of trust.
Mhm.
If you trust that is that is actually true. But Rhonda, is that your understanding as well, that it is an opt-in?
Well, it's different platforms do it differently. Some are opting in
Mm,
and some are opting out. I mean, it depends on
mm,
how they set it up, but officially, yes, that's the way it's supposed to be. But I mean,
mm,
like when people first started talking about AI and people were coming with the fear problem and they were saying to me, Rhonda, I could never use anything like from AI.
mm.
I said, well, why not? Yeah, well, I don't know this and I don't know that. And I said, but you use the internet, right?
Right.
Yeah, the internet is great. And I said, yeah. And I said, so then what about the dark net? Oh, Rhonda, I have nothing to do with the dark net. I said, well, I've been in the dark net 3 times. I have
Mm.
a system that checks for me every month to see if I'm being mentioned in the dark net. And at one point, I was mentioned 3 times in the dark net. I have never been in the dark net. I don't know how to get into the dark net.
No,
Somebody has put my information in the dark net 3 different
really.
times. But I'm not giving up the internet just because some idiot put my stuff in the dark net. I have a system, it scans once a month for me. It tries to keep things in order like everything else. But I'm not giving up the positive, the wonderful things we get from the internet just because there is also a dark net. And I'm doing the same thing with AI. Of course, you can do crazy things and negative things with anything. There's
Yeah,
always 2 sides to the coin.
yeah.
It's the law of polarity. If there's something positive,
Mm,
then there's something
mm,
negative. So
mm.
for me, I always say to people, we all have to be working as we are here in this group to make sure that the positive things come through,
Yeah,
because that's why the saying that we're talking about values plus AI to make a greater impact. So
yeah,
we have to be doing these things together and not just sitting there and saying, oh, I don't touch AI because it could do such terrible things. Well, if you build a campfire out behind your house, you can sit outside and stay warm. But if you pick up one piece of wood with fire on it and you set it on your house, then it burns your house down. I mean,
yeah,
everything
yeah,
is like that. So
yeah. What have you seen? Have you seen what have you seen as being the possible contributions that AI might be able to make in terms of, because when we say values, I mean values being a very general term, and values can be, and again, I'm a Barrett coming from the Barrett side. There's the potentially very limiting values, and then they're the values that contribute
Yeah,
to
the positive values or human values or intrinsic values or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the classification of limiting and non-limiting.
Mm,
Yeah, I think there, to me, there's lots of ways of using AI in a positive way,
mm,
and therefore in a values-based way. I think, from my point of view, just to give my personal interest, I suppose, or what I'm getting out of it at the moment, is that it can help me do what I do with various values initiatives more easily. So communication, which is a good value,
mm,
um, capable capable of being badly used, of course, but um, greater communication, better communication, higher quality communication
mm,
is, and clearly the large language models are very helpful in that, because they help get stuff out really and help sift a lot of materials. All of that is helpful, and it's helpful for everyone doing anything, of course, good or bad. Um, and communicating, particularly through into other languages, is something
mm,
I've been asking Rhonda about, and she's put me in touch with various people, and we've been looking, for instance, for World Values Day to go multilingual, or more multilingual anyway, which is obviously good. At the moment, it's just in English language predominantly, although people do talk about it, communicate on social media about World Values Day in different languages, because without, in a sort of organic, viral way.
mm,
In a structured way, we don't do anything yet, but we obviously want to. And it's quite easy now to put, change websites into different languages. That's not really a great problem. But most of what we do is not really. I mean, that's necessary if we go multi. But the really important part is actually being able to communicate outside that into social media, because that's really where you're talking to people. And that, I mean, again, that's become quite manageable now.
mm,
Still, it needs, a degree of human intervention, because you can easily translate your English posts in English language into, whatever other languages you want, pretty
mm,
much, quite all of them yet, without cost, which is another big factor. But there's sort of there's quality issues, there's also cultural issues. So you don't really want to let a machine do that and find that
mhm,
you're insulting, whatever our friends in Croatia or in China or in Turkey or in wherever it may be. So it does require human intervention, but it's I think it's quite small now. We've been running some pilots and seeing, actually how much, because we can't afford much, and so we're relying on volunteers. Really.
mm,
And what's the ask if you're, a Spanish speaker, Portuguese speaker, or Hindi speaker? What would it cost? What time would it take you? Anyway, so getting back to AI, I can see that AI is rapidly moving towards where, probably if we wait another year, which we will now, I think, till next year for doing anything, it will have moved on again, and it will be even more practicable to do this. So I think that's just a concrete, not an
mm,
exciting
yeah, yeah,
of
mm,
how. I think we have dealt, Rhonda, haven't we, with quite a lot of other issues. Most people who come on these chats, these discussions, are values-based, values-driven. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. But most people
mm,
are, as we know. That's the wonderful thing about all those national values assessments that Barrett Values have done over the years, and possibly are still doing. I don't know. And it shows you that most people have, or at least claim to have, which is a slightly different thing, uh, good values. I mean, in the sense of,
mm,
like the Barrett value sense, they're somewhere on that nice pyramid. They're probably not scrabbling around the bottom, where they're just looking to defend their space and survive. Or that's perfectly fine too.
sometimes it feels like that's a little bit where AI is pushing us. I just being an American born, and the seeing the drive towards personal financial gain, and the terminology in the States, I don't know, Rhonda, if you've been in contact with it, but I started to pick it up, moral collapse.
Mhm.
So that idea that we are, yeah, some things are moving in a direction where it's very appealing to ignore base human values. That I feel is something that really concerns me with AI and the power of AI and the attractiveness of AI to seek personal gain.
Mhm.
And that's where I think maybe some of my colleagues also end up, is thinking, are we promoting something that is at the root going to be our undoing?
Mhm.
Um,
Well, another parallel example that I often use because I'm American, and people often ask me about guns in the U.
mm,
And they always say, but Rhonda, everybody's running around and shooting guns, and people are going into schools and killing all the kids, and all the wonderful, terrible things that you get on the mainstream media.
mm,
And I say to those people, I grew up with a father and a grandfather who were both hunters.
mm,
We had 12 guns in my living room in a glass cabinet, none of which I ever touched and never shot.
mhm,
And my father went hunting for all kinds of animals, and not just where we lived on the farm in Pennsylvania, but my father went to Alaska and the Rocky Mountains in Canada, and I don't know where, to go hunting for bears and, things that we didn't have, grizzly bears and things that we didn't have at home, because he loved hunting.
mm,
My father had 12 guns. He could have gone out, I don't know how many, killed how many people if he had wanted to,
mm,
but he never did. And this thing about, do we ban guns, or do we make sure we control the way guns are being used? And for me, AI is going somewhat in that direction.
mm,
There are wonderful things that happen with guns.
mm,
People are using them for protection and for defense and all those things where they never even shoot them. But there are lots of terrible things also happening with guns.
mm,
So what are we doing? My father lived to be 84.
mm,
Nothing ever negative happened with him in all those years with a gun.
mm, mm,
So for me, it's back to the way we're actually using these things and how we're
mm,
implementing what they're able to do.
mm,
And anytime that there's anything going out for financial gain, it's who's controlling that and who is monitoring that and who is paying taxes on things, and all the different things that go with financial things, as you mentioned, Elizabeth. That's the next layer of those things as well. But fortunately, I was in Geneva in July at the AI for Good conference of the United
oh,
Nations, and
okay.
the second time.
Mm,
And one of the nice things that always happens there is all of the people who are doing compliance and ethical things meet there. People from all the major
mm,
companies, people from government offices, all different kinds of people. So there are people trying to work on this and get this
yeah.
organized. But I mean,
Mm,
we all know all the wonderful things that the UN is trying to do in all kinds of other fields as well. But
right.
if somebody like Donald Trump comes along and says, we don't give aid to people anymore, it doesn't matter how much the UNHCR wants to help people if there's no support,
Right.
and it's always this playoff of which players are on the field and who's doing what,
Yeah.
as far as I see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm, mm,
Yes, I think that it's undoubtedly true that AI can be and is being used for the bad, like every other technological advance that we've ever had. And the power of AI though is tremendous. Therefore, the power to put bad as well as good is tremendous. I just
Right.
think the way we can respond to that is certainly not by closing our eyes and putting our head in the sand.
No.
Mhm.
We have to get involved. Really, we have to understand first of all what's going on. That's the first step, and then see what we can do. I mean, part of the thing about World Values Day is to try and get on the internet to have a positive message.
Mm,
Values we talk about after all, and people sometimes say, what values are you talking about? But actually, it's almost it is understood, I think.
mm,
And the last thing you want to do is really start defining, having listed values. These are values you approve of, these are values you don't. But we want to be there standing for good, positive, intrinsic, pro-social, whatever you want to call them, human values.
mm,
And to do that, you've got to be out there doing it. There's lots of people are. I mean, masses of people, but maybe we're outnumbered. I don't know. I just think the opposite, because the human nature is such that it just loves all the bad news and just
mm,
loves. And we find that in ourselves. Don't we? One likes a bit of gossip. One likes to see all the sort of
mm.
fascination and all the awful things that are going on. But if we don't get out there and say that life, the world it isn't really full of awful people doing bad things. It's predominantly full of decent people trying to do the right thing, quite often being sort of put off from doing that because they feel, well, what's the use? All these other people are taking advantage, and they're not pulling their weight. They're going to take advantage of me if I do something nice. But so what? You don't, I think we still have to just keep on doing it.
I think that's why this what you're doing with this forum is so incredibly important. And the two of you, the kinds of, you know, things you represent, so important to be stepping into this conversation. Because as you say, Charles, I mean, certainly the numbers are great. Um, I believe it's going to be important that the numbers are engaging with some of the things that are happening, like AI. My biggest optimism for AI comes in that I don't know if there's anything that's going to give us um, as much of a sense of urgency as what comes about, since AI has the potential to move so quickly, um, and and hopefully that will inspire certain people, really inspire certain people to be activated. I was a volunteer at our Pride festival here, and I noticed um, a maybe something that's typical in places where you have been as well, that there's a kind of like taking a little bit of a poll. If I bring up AI, the kind of hand goes up. Or I was at a lovely evening, intellectual evening with people psychologists and artists, theater people, and I'll tell you, bring up a sort of a party killer was to bring up AI. And I thought, these are I'm this is, I think, part of what's motivating me is this literacy to the crowds where there is potentially some fantastic energy that that could benefit the greater community. But if they assume this to be for the tech bros, or for the, I see a clustering of power, a clustering around, this has a very typical appearance, and that's not a diverse enough crowd.
Mhm. I agree with you 100% on that. What I will send Elizabeth when probably it'll be this weekend until I get it to you, but I have a one-page document now where the kind of discussion that we're having today, I am offering to teams or groups of
Mm,
people or clubs or
mm,
whoever. And what I do in those is I just come in and ask you ahead of time, how many people are coming and what kind of work are you doing, just so I get some background first. And then I come in, and I did this recently with one of my coaching clients that I've worked with for years. He's the head of a sales department in an American software SaaS company, but here in Germany. And he said, everybody's complaining that there's not enough time and we aren't getting things done. And I kept saying to him, you don't have to do that anymore. You can give that to AI, and why are you worrying about this? And they just didn't know enough about what it was. And so what I actually did was I just went into the room. He was there, his boss was there. I knew a couple of the people on his team as well, and some of them I didn't. And I just said, what are the things that you're doing now that are making your life really difficult?
Mm.
Where are you not efficient? Where are things taking too long? Where are things getting lost? All those really terrible, stupid things that really keep you held back because you have to sit for hours and do whatever this nitty gritty stuff is. And then they came up with, oh, well, we need a unified version of this, or this big report, it takes way too long to make, and I have to go look up all the data individually. And they started going through all these things. I've worked with this company for 15 years, so I know, how they tick. And I kept saying, look at this tool, look at this. Could you use this to help that problem? And that's why I say I do this very practical, hands-on thing. And if you would like the sheet that I send with that, I'll put that in message in your email specifically so you see that, and I'll attach that for everybody. But that it's a sheet, that a PDF that's called AI Insights and Impulses. People come with whatever the problem is. I show them something, and then we see what impulse they get to be able to go out and see how that can help them resolve whatever it is that they're working with. And what maybe the nice folks that you're talking to who are all afraid, they're probably afraid of not understanding the jargon and all those things. If you say, what do you need help with? And you can show people how to do something, and they look at it and they say, oh, you can do that? Oh, that's really good. Then you get a whole different view on things. And maybe if you have groups of people, Elizabeth, where you think that could be helpful for them, then all you'd have to do is reach out to me and we'd set up a time. And I just come for half an hour like today and say, oh, okay. So show me what are you working on? How can we do this? And then I just show a couple of tools, and it works very well. Yeah.
I find that many of my colleagues, in part, they're afraid of being irrelevant.
Oh, sure. And if they don't keep up, they are going to be irrelevant. They've got to get in the game. Yeah.
That's my pitch.
Yeah.
As well. And that is a challenging pitch, because it is kind of, I think we also need to consider that there needs to be a space for everybody.
That's one of the reasons for this. That's one of the reasons that I'm doing this also now, not only in the public domain where it's on the internet and whatever, but for people who maybe wouldn't come here because they wouldn't know how to talk about these things. That's why I'm offering this to a group of people. And I've done it with a few groups already, where we just sit down and the people all know each other. So that's a different approach to doing it than people coming here and talking to strangers.
Right.
To a certain extent. So we're looking at that as another option as well. So when I get the email to you, you look for that PDF. And then if you want, there'll be a way for you just to write me an email back, and I'll send you a calendar link, and you can tell me what people are interested in, and then we can figure that out.
That's great.
Wonderful. Can we, this session is officially set up for half an hour. We're now at 45 minutes. And I do have guests in my house this week. Is it okay for us to close the session here today? All right. And as I said, I send out an email. It probably won't be till Saturday, with the notes from what happened today, with the recording of this video. And then Elizabeth, you'll be able to go in and see things from all the previous sessions as well.
Wonderful. I appreciate what you're doing, Charles and Rhonda. Thanks for creating the opportunity.
Okay. Wonderful to see you. Looking forward to seeing you next month.
Yes, I look forward to that as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right.
A planning session, Elizabeth, for Well Values Day.
What
We've
did you
got-
say, Charles?
Every month we have a planning session for Well Values Day, so you're very, very welcome to come along and just have a look and look and see what we're doing. There's only one more before Well Values Day, which is in October. So if you'd like, I can send you a link.
Go ahead, and you could absolutely do that.
That's okay. Okay, I will.
Wonderful. Well, then I wish both of you the nice rest of your evening, and I'll be
Thank
getting
you.
things out to you as soon as I can. And Charles, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Should I kick you out?
I'll leave.
Okay.
Have a nice evening, Rhonda.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.